shattered trust. Welcome to Twisted Heartstrings. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The perfect life that wasn't. The rain hit the windows of our penthouse apartment like angry fists. I stood there, holding a glass of wine, looking at the city lights below. My name is Sophia Chun, and I thought I had everything. A successful architecture firm, a handsome husband, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. But that night, everything changed. My husband Marcus was supposed to be at a business meeting. He told me he would be late, just like he had been telling me for the past 6 months. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? We had been married for 5 years. We built our lives together, or so I thought. I was wearing my favorite blue dress, the one Marcus said made my eyes shine like stars. I had planned a special dinner for us. Our anniversary was coming up, and I wanted to surprise him. But life had a different surprise waiting for me. The phone that changed everything. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It was a message from an unknown number. My fingers were shaking as I opened it. What I saw made my heart stop beating for a moment. It was a photo. Marcus was in it, but he wasn't alone. He was with someone I knew very well. It was Jessica, my personal assistant. The girl I had hired 2 years ago. The girl I had trusted with my schedule, my meetings, and my life. In the photo, they were at a restaurant. Not just any restaurant, but the same place where Marcus had proposed to me. His hand was on her face, and they were looking at each other the way he used to look at me. The way that made me believe in forever. My wine glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Red wine spread across the white tiles like blood. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was stare at that photo. Then another message came. Then another. There were photos from different days, different places. Hotels. His office. Even our vacation home by the lake. How long had this been going on? How could I have been so blind? The confrontation I never expected. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, waiting for Marcus to come home. When he finally walked through the door at 2 a.m., he looked tired but relaxed. He smiled when he saw me sitting there. "Sophia, you're still awake? You should be sleeping," he said, loosening his tie. "Where were you?" My voice was cold, even to my own ears. "I told you, honey. Business meeting. It ran late." He walked to the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. I stood up and walked toward him. I handed him my phone with the photos on the screen. "Then explain these." His face went white. For a moment, he just stood there, frozen. Then he tried to smile, tried to laugh it off. "Sophia, this isn't what it looks like. Don't." I cut him off. "Don't you dare lie to me anymore." "How long, Marcus? How long have you been sleeping with my assistant?" He didn't answer. He just looked at the floor like a guilty child. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This had been going on for a long time. The truth comes out. 8 months, he finally said. His voice was quiet, almost ashamed. "It started 8 months ago. 8 months. I felt sick. 8 months of lies. 8 months of him coming home and kissing me goodnight after being with her. 8 months of me being a fool." "Why?" I asked. It was the only word I could manage. "You were always busy with your firm. You never had time for me anymore." Jessica, she understood me. She listened to me. His excuses sounded weak even to him. "I was building our future." I shouted. "Every project I took, every late night I worked, it was for us. And you repay me by betraying me with my own employee." Marcus looked up at me then. Something in his eyes changed. The guilt disappeared, replaced by something colder. "Maybe if you had paid more attention to your husband instead of your buildings, this wouldn't have happened." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was blaming me for his cheating. The secret meeting. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face anyone, especially not Jessica. I sat in my home office, going through our financial records. Something Marcus had said kept bothering me. He had mentioned business meetings, but I knew his company wasn't doing well. So where was all the money going? I started digging deeper into our bank accounts. What I found made the affair seem small in comparison. Marcus had been moving money. Large amounts. He had opened secret accounts. He had taken loans using our house as collateral without telling me. He had even forged my signature on documents. My successful architecture firm was being used as a front to get more credit. He wasn't just cheating on me. He was stealing from me. I grabbed my phone and called the one person I knew could help. David Martinez. We had been friends since college. He was now one of the best lawyers in the city. We had lost touch after I married Marcus, but I knew he would help me. "Sophia? It's been years. How are you?" His voice was warm and friendly. David, I need your help. Can you meet me today? I tried to keep my voice steady. Of course. Is everything okay? No, nothing is okay. But I'm going to fix it. The plan begins. We met at a small cafe far from my usual places. I didn't want anyone to see us together. David was the same as I remembered. Tall, with kind brown eyes and a smile that made you feel safe. He looked concerned when he saw me. Sophia, you look exhausted. What happened? I told him everything. About Marcus and Jessica. About the money. About the lies. David listened without interrupting. When I finished, his face was serious. This is worse than cheating, Sophia. This is fraud. If what you're saying is true, Marcus could go to jail. I want him to pay, David. Not just for breaking my heart, but for stealing my hard work. For using me. My voice was firm now. The shock had worn off. Now I was angry. David pulled out a notebook. Okay. First, we need to gather all the evidence. Every document, every transaction, every message. Can you access his computer? I can. He uses the same password for everything. Our wedding date. The irony wasn't lost on me. Good. But be careful. We need to do this legally. I don't want him getting off on a technicality. David leaned forward. Sophia, once we start this, there's no going back. Are you sure? I thought about all the nights I had worked late, building my business. I thought about the trust one had given Marcus. I thought about Jessica, who I had treated like a younger sister. They had both betrayed me in the worst way possible. I'm sure. I'm going to take everything from him, just like he tried to take everything from me. The charity gala disaster. 1 week later, we had a charity gala to attend. It was the biggest event of the year for the architecture community. I had designed the venue myself 2 years ago. Marcus had insisted we go together, trying to act like nothing was wrong. He didn't know that I knew everything yet. I wore a red dress that night. Red for anger. Red for revenge. Red for the new woman I was becoming. Jessica was there too. She worked for my firm, so of course she had to attend. She avoided looking at me all night, but I watched her. I watched how she looked at Marcus across the room. I watched how he texted her when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Then came the moment I had been planning for. The organizers asked me to give a speech about my latest project. I walked up to the stage, looking at the crowd of successful people. People who respected me. People who didn't know that my personal life was falling apart. Good evening, everyone, I began. Thank you for coming tonight. We're here to support young architects and designers who dream of making a difference in our city. I paused, looking directly at Marcus. He smiled at me, proud and confident. He had no idea what was coming. Before I talk about the project, I want to share something personal. I believe in honesty. I believe in trust. And I believe that when someone breaks that trust, they should face the consequences. The room got quiet. Marcus's smile faded. Jessica looked panicked. Some of you know my husband, Marcus Chun. Successful businessman. Loving husband. I put emphasis on those last 2 words. Or so I thought. What you don't know is that for the past 8 months, he's been having an affair with my assistant, Jessica Moore, who is standing right over there. Gasps filled the room. People turned to look at Jessica, who had gone completely white. Marcus stood up from his table, his face red with anger and embarrassment. Sophia, what are you doing? He shouted. I'm telling the truth, Marcus. Something you forgot how to do. I felt powerful standing there, watching him squirm. But that's not all. My husband has also been stealing from our joint accounts, forging my signature, taking loans using my business as collateral, all while pretending to be the perfect partner. The room erupted in whispers. Marcus started walking toward the stage, but security stopped him. David appeared beside me, handing me a folder. These are the documents proving everything I just said. They've also been sent to the police and the district attorney's office. Marcus Chin, you're not just a cheater. You're a criminal. The aftermath of truth. The gala ended in chaos. People surrounded me, asking questions. Some supported me. Others looked at me with pity. I hated the pity most of all. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a fighter. Marcus disappeared into the night with Jessica. They probably went to plan their next move. But I was 10 steps ahead of them. David drove me home that night. We sat in his car outside my building, neither of us speaking for a moment. That was brave, he finally said. But also risky. Marcus will fight back. Let him try. I have everything I need to destroy him. I looked at the building where I had lived with Marcus for 5 years. It didn't feel like home anymore. What about you, Sophia? How are you really doing? David's voice was gentle. I turned to look at him. In his eyes, I saw genuine concern. Not pity, just care. Honestly, I'm angry. I'm hurt. But I'm also free. For the first time in years, I see clearly. Marcus was holding me back. He was jealous of my success. That's why he did this. You're going to come out of this stronger, David said with confidence. I know, because I'm not just fighting for myself anymore. I'm fighting for every woman who's been betrayed, who's been stolen from, who's been made to feel small. I opened the car door. Thank you, David, for being here, for believing me. Always, Sophia. I'll see you tomorrow. We have a lot of work to do. The next morning, I woke up the next day to hundreds of messages. The story had spread quickly. The media was calling it the Gala Confession. Some people criticized me for being so public. Others praised my courage. But the message that caught my attention was from an unknown number again, different from the one that had sent me the photos. Mrs. Chun, if you want to know where all your money really went, meet me at Central Coffee Shop at noon. Come alone. I have information about Marcus that will help your case. I showed the message to David when he arrived at my apartment that morning. It could be a trap, he warned. Or it could be the missing piece we need. I'm going. Then I'm coming with you. At least let me wait nearby. I agreed. At noon, I walked into Central Coffee Shop. It was crowded, which made me feel safer. I ordered a coffee and sat at a corner table, waiting. At 12:15, a woman approached my table. She was in her 50s, well-dressed, with tired eyes. Mrs. Chun? I'm Margaret. I used to work as Marcus's accountant before he fired me 6 months ago. Why did he fire you? I asked, gesturing for her to sit. Because I asked too many questions about where the money was going. Mrs. Chun, your husband isn't just stealing from you. He's involved in something much bigger. Money laundering. Fake investments. He's been using your reputation to scam people. My blood ran cold. Do you have proof? Margaret pulled out a USB drive from her purse. Everything is here. Bank records. Fake company documents. Names of people he scammed. I kept copies of everything before he fired me. I wanted to go to the police, but I was scared. When I saw what you did at the gala last night, I knew you were brave enough to take him down. I took the USB drive, my hands shaking. Why are you helping me? Because I have a daughter your age. If someone did this to her, I would want someone to help her fight back. Margaret stood up. Be careful, Mrs. Chun. Marcus has connections with dangerous people, but you have the truth on your side, and the truth always wins in the end. She left before I could thank her properly. I sat there, holding that USB drive, knowing that my fight with Marcus was about to get much bigger and more dangerous than I had imagined. But I wasn't scared. I was ready. David met me outside the coffee shop. Well, we have him, David. We have everything we need to not only divorce him, but to put him behind bars for a very long time. Then let's go. We have work to do. As we walked to David's office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, genuine hope. My life with Marcus was over. But my real life, the one where I was strong and independent and free, was just beginning. And Marcus? He was about to learn that the woman he thought he could use and discard was actually his worst nightmare. The game had changed, and I was playing to win. Professor Mitchell's conference room filled up quickly over the next 2 days. He had assembled what he called the Dream Team. There was Sarah Chun, a former FBI forensic accountant who now specialized in tracking hidden assets. Marcus Rodriguez, a private investigator with contacts in every major bank in the world. And Lisa Zhao, a divorce attorney whose reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands was legendary in New York legal circles. They all looked at me with the same expression. Determination mixed with pity. I hated the pity part. Mrs. Anderson, Lisa began, spreading documents across the table. Your prenup is one of the worst I've ever seen. But Professor Mitchell is right. If we can prove Daniel committed crimes with marital assets, we can void it. The question is, can we prove it before he disappears with all your money? Sarah pulled up a presentation on the screen. I've done a preliminary analysis of the documents you provided. Daniel and his partner Marcus Chun have created a web of shell companies. Money comes in from investors, gets moved through these companies, and disappears offshore. The investors think their money is being invested in real estate, but there is no real estate. It's a Ponzi scheme. How much money are we talking about? I asked. So far, I've traced about $47 million. But I think it's more. Much more. The number hit me like a punch. $47 million. Daniel had stolen $47 million from people who trusted him. People I had introduced him to through my business connections. My stomach turned. Those investors, some of them are my clients. People I know. People who trusted me. Marcus leaned forward. That's not your fault, Maya. Daniel used your reputation, but you didn't know what he was doing. When this comes out, your honesty will matter. The fact that you're the one exposing him will matter. What about Victoria? I asked. How involved is she? Sarah pulled up more documents. Very involved. Victoria Hart has been helping Daniel move money. Her husband Richard invested $12 million in Daniel's fake projects. She's literally helping Daniel steal from her own husband while having an affair with him. It's one of the most twisted situations I've ever seen. Professor Mitchell added, we need to be strategic about this. If we move too fast, Daniel and Victoria will destroy evidence and run. If we move too slow, they'll get away. We need to catch them in the act. What do you suggest? I asked. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator about to pounce. We set a trap. We make Daniel think he's won. We make him comfortable. And then we spring it when he least expects it. The offshore trail. Over the next week, Sarah worked magic with the documents I had given her. She traced money through 17 different shell companies across 4 countries. The Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore, and Luxembourg. Daniel had been planning this for at least 3 years. He opened the first offshore account 2 weeks after you got married, Sarah told me, showing me the timeline she had created. This wasn't a sudden decision. This was always his plan. Marry you, use your connections and reputation, steal as much money as possible, and disappear with Victoria. The words hurt, but I was getting used to the pain. Each new revelation was like a cut that I learned to ignore because I was focused on the bigger picture. Survival. Victory. Justice. Here's the interesting part, Sarah continued. Daniel made a mistake. A big one. He used his real birthday as part of the password for one of the offshore accounts. He also used Victoria's name in the security questions. These weren't just business crimes. He was planning a life with her using stolen money. Can we access these accounts? Not legally, not yet. But once we get law enforcement involved with what we already have, they can get warrants. Swiss banks aren't as secretive as they used to be, especially when U.S. federal crimes are involved. Marcus had been working on the physical surveillance. Daniel and Victoria meet every Tuesday and Thursday at a hotel in Midtown. Room 1547. They think they're being careful, but they're not. I have photos, videos, timestamps. Everything you need to prove the affair. He showed me the photos on his laptop. Daniel and Victoria kissing in the hotel lobby. Walking into the room together. Coming out 2 hours later, looking satisfied and happy. Each photo was dated and time-stamped. Each photo was another nail in Daniel's coffin. There's more, Marcus said. I followed Daniel last Wednesday. He met with Marcus Chun at a warehouse in Queens. They were loading boxes into a truck. I managed to get close enough to see what was in one of the boxes. Cash. Lots of it. They're preparing to run. When? I asked. Based on the airline tickets I found in Daniel's email, they're planning to leave in 3 weeks. They have flights to Singapore, then connecting to somewhere without an extradition treaty with the U.S. Once they're gone, getting them back will be nearly impossible. 3 weeks. I had 3 weeks to destroy Daniel's plans and take back my life. Victoria's secrets. Lisa came to me with an idea. We need to approach Victoria. Separately from Daniel. Why would we do that? I asked. Because Victoria is the weak link. She's not as smart as Daniel. She's emotional. She's made mistakes. And most importantly, she has more to lose than Daniel does. What does she have to lose? Lisa pulled up more documents. Victoria Hart comes from money. Old money. Her family's fortune is tied up in trusts that she can only access if she stays married. If she divorces Richard, especially if it's because of an affair, she loses everything. The prenup her family made Richard sign is even worse than yours. So she's trapped too? Worse than trapped. She's been lying to Daniel about her money. He thinks she's rich. He thinks when they run away together, they'll have her family money plus his stolen millions. But she doesn't have access to any family money. She's been living off credit cards and loans, hoping that Daniel's scheme pays off before her debt catches up with her. I sat back, processing this. So Victoria needs Daniel's stolen money as much as he needs to disappear with her. Exactly. And if we can prove to her that Daniel is going to prison, that all his money will be seized, and that she'll be charged as an accomplice. She might turn on him to save herself. You want me to confront her? Not confront. Negotiate. Offer her a way out. She testifies against Daniel, provides evidence we don't have access to, and in exchange, we don't push for her to face criminal charges. She loses Daniel and loses access to the money, but she doesn't go to prison. It was brilliant and cruel, just like Daniel and Victoria had been cruel to me. Set up a meeting, I said. The coffee shop ambush. We met at a small coffee shop in Brooklyn, far from where Victoria or Daniel would ever go. I arrived early, sitting at a corner table where I could watch the door. My heart was pounding. I was wearing simple clothes, no makeup. I wanted to look like the victim she thought I was. Victoria walked in 15 minutes late, wearing designer clothes and carrying a Birkin bag. She looked annoyed that I had asked her to meet in such a common place. She didn't know Lisa and Marcus were sitting at separate tables, recording everything. Maya, what's this about? Victoria asked, not even trying to fake friendliness. I'm very busy. I know about you and Daniel, I said quietly. Her face went pale, but she recovered quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. Room 1547 at the Midtown Continental Hotel. Every Tuesday and Thursday. You've been sleeping with my husband for almost a year. That's not true. You're just paranoid because Daniel doesn't love you anymore. That's not my fault. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Marcus's photos. Victoria and Daniel kissing in the hotel hallway. Her face went from pale to red. You had me followed? That's illegal. I'm calling my lawyer. Go ahead. While you're at it, explain to your lawyer how you've been helping Daniel commit wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering. Explain how you've been stealing from your own husband. Explain how you're about to go to prison for a very long time. Victoria sat down hard in the chair across from me. What are you talking about? Daniel's investment business is fake, Victoria. It's a Ponzi scheme. He's stolen almost $50 million from investors, including your husband. And you've been helping him move that money offshore. Every email you sent, every account you helped set up, makes you an accomplice. No, that's not. Daniel said it was all legal. He said we were just being smart about taxes. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. He lied to you. Just like he lied to me. Just like he's been lying to everyone. The FBI is involved now. Federal prosecutors. In a few days, Daniel is going to be arrested. And unless you do something to help yourself, you're going to be arrested too. Victoria's hands were shaking. What do you want from me? I want you to tell the truth. I want you to testify about everything Daniel did, everything he told you to do, everything you know about the offshore accounts and the shell companies. You do that, and my lawyer will work with the prosecutors to keep you out of prison. And if I don't, then you go down with him. You lose everything. Your marriage, your family money, your freedom. Is Daniel really worth that? Victoria was crying now, her expensive mascara running down her face. He said we'd be together forever. He said we'd be happy. He's a liar, Victoria. That's what he does. He lies to get what he wants. He used me for my connections. He's using you for your help with his crimes. Once he gets on that plane to Singapore, do you really think he'll take you with him? Or will you be the convenient scapegoat he leaves behind? I could see the moment she realized I was right. The moment she understood that Daniel had been using her just like he used me. The moment she decided to save herself. What do I have to do? She whispered. The digital evidence. With Victoria cooperating, the case against Daniel became airtight. She provided passwords to accounts we couldn't access. She handed over her laptop with all her emails and messages with Daniel. She admitted that Daniel had been planning to leave her behind, that he had a separate ticket to Brazil that he'd never told her about. Sarah worked through the night, analyzing everything Victoria provided. By morning, she had traced every dollar Daniel had stolen. He was good, Sarah admitted. If not for Victoria's records, we might never have found all of it. He created over 40 shell companies. He had accounts in 8 different countries. He even created fake identities to open some of the accounts. Can we get the money back? I asked. Most of it, yes. Once Daniel is arrested and convicted, the government will seize all these accounts. The investors will get most of their money back. And since much of the seed money came from your joint account, you'll be entitled to a significant portion. I don't want his stolen money. I just want my own money back. The money I earned. Professor Mitchell put his hand on my shoulder. Maya, you're entitled to compensation for what Daniel put you through. Don't be too proud to accept what you deserve. Maybe he was right. But right now, I just wanted this to be over. The public trap. Lisa had been working on the public relations side. When Daniel is arrested, this is going to be huge news. Rich investment manager arrested for massive fraud while having an affair with an investor's wife. The media will eat it up. I don't want to be part of a media circus, I said. You won't have a choice. But we can control the narrative. We can make sure the story is about how brave you were to expose him, not about how you were his victim. We can make you the hero, not the fool. How do we do that? We do a press conference. Right after his arrest. You stand there, strong and composed, and you tell your side. You talk about how you discovered his crimes and went to the authorities. You talk about protecting the other victims. You show everyone that you're not broken. The idea terrified me, but it also felt right. I didn't want to hide. I wanted people to know the truth. Okay, let's do it. Marcus had been coordinating with the FBI. They're ready to move. They're going to arrest Daniel tomorrow at his office. Maximum publicity, maximum impact. They want to send a message that no one is above the law. Tomorrow, after all these weeks of planning and preparing, it was finally happening tomorrow. The hospital scare. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Daniel, about the life we'd had, about the baby growing inside me. Around 3 a.m., I felt a sharp pain in my abdomen. Then another. Something was wrong. I called Jennifer, who rushed over and drove me to the hospital. The doctors ran tests, did an ultrasound, checked my blood pressure. Everything was happening so fast, and I was so scared. Finally, a doctor came in and told me the baby was fine. The pain was from stress and dehydration. I needed to rest, to take care of myself, or I could really hurt the baby. Mrs. Anderson, the doctor said gently, I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but your body is telling you it's too much. You need to slow down, for your baby's sake. Professor Mitchell arrived at the hospital an hour later. Maya, we can delay everything. Your health comes first. No, I said firmly. We're not delaying. Daniel gets arrested tomorrow as planned. I'll be there for the press conference. I'll do what needs to be done. But after that, I'm taking a break. I'm going to focus on my health and my baby. The legal team can handle the rest. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Okay, but I'm going to be with you every step of the way. You're not alone in this. Jennifer held my hand. None of us are going to let you do this alone. We're your family now. We'll get through this together. Lying in that hospital bed, surrounded by people who actually cared about me, I realized something. Daniel had taken a lot from me, but he hadn't taken everything. I still had my friends, my business, my strength, and I was about to take back my life. The arrest day. The next morning, I was discharged from the hospital. Professor Mitchell picked me up and drove me to his office. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m., right after Daniel's arrest. At 11:30 a.m., Marcus called. They got him. FBI agents walked into his office 20 minutes ago. He's in custody now. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. The man I had loved, the man I had built a life with, was being arrested for crimes I had helped expose. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt sad. Victoria? I asked. She's cooperating fully. The prosecutors are offering her a deal. Probation instead of prison in exchange for her testimony. And Richard? Her husband. He filed for divorce an hour ago. He's publicly stated that he had no knowledge of his wife's affair or her involvement in Daniel's scheme. His lawyers are working to recover his investment. So many lives destroyed. So many people hurt. All because of Daniel's greed and lies. At 1:45 p.m., I stood in front of a mirror in Professor Mitchell's office, preparing for the press conference. I wore a navy blue suit, simple jewelry, minimal makeup. I looked professional, composed, strong. Lisa went over talking points one more time. Keep it short. Keep it factual. Don't show emotion if you can help it. Remember, you're the hero of this story, not the victim. I'm ready, I said. We walked into the press conference room. It was packed with reporters, cameras, microphones. I saw my face on the monitors, looking pale but determined. Professor Mitchell stood on my right side. Jennifer stood on my left. My team. My support. I stepped up to the podium and began to speak. My name is Maya Anderson. 3 weeks ago, I discovered that my husband, Daniel Anderson, was having an affair and committing massive financial fraud. Today, he was arrested by the FBI. I am here to tell you that I cooperated fully with law enforcement to bring him to justice. The cameras flashed. The reporters shouted questions. But I kept talking, my voice steady and clear. Daniel betrayed me. He betrayed his investors. He betrayed everyone who trusted him. But I want you to know that I will spend every day working to make this right. The victims of his scheme will get their money back. Justice will be served. And I will rebuild my life, stronger than before. I paused, looking directly into the cameras. To anyone else going through something similar, know this: you are not alone. You are not weak. You are not responsible for someone else's crimes. And you have the power to fight back. Then I walked away from the podium, ignoring the shouted questions, keeping my head high. As we left the building through a side door, Professor Mitchell squeezed my shoulder. You did great, Maya. You were perfect. But I didn't feel perfect. I felt exhausted, drained, empty. When we got back to his office, I finally let myself cry. Not for Daniel. Not for the marriage that was over. But for the woman I used to be, before I learned that love could be a weapon and trust could be a trap. Jennifer held me while I sobbed. It's okay. Let it out. You've been strong for so long. You're allowed to break down now. I just want this to be over, I whispered. I want to move on with my life. You will, she promised. This is the worst part. From here, it gets better. I hope she was right, because I didn't know how much more I could take. The trial began 6 months later. I was 7 months pregnant by then, my belly round and obvious. Every time I walked into the courtroom, I felt Daniel's eyes on me. He had lost weight in jail, looked older, broken. Part of me felt sorry for him, but only a small part. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. They had the emails, the bank records, Victoria's testimony, and the testimony of dozens of investors Daniel had scammed. His defense attorney tried to claim that Daniel had been misled by Marcus Chun, that he was just a naive businessman who made mistakes. The jury didn't believe it. How could they? The evidence was everywhere. On the 4th day of the trial, I was called to testify. I walked to the witness stand, one hand on my belly, and swore to tell the truth. Then I looked at Daniel for the first time since his arrest. He mouthed the words, "I'm sorry." Too late. Much too late. The prosecutor asked me to describe how I discovered Daniel's crimes. I told the whole story, leaving nothing out. The anniversary dinner that never happened. The open computer. The emails with Victoria. The offshore accounts. The way he had frozen my credit cards, trying to trap me. Mrs. Anderson, the prosecutor asked, "Did you love your husband when you married him?" "Yes," I said quietly. "Very much." "And do you still love him?" I looked at Daniel again. At the man I had built a life with. The man who had destroyed everything. "No," I said. "I don't think I ever really knew him." You can't love someone you don't know. The defense attorney tried to make me look vindictive, tried to suggest I was doing this out of anger and hurt feelings. But it didn't work. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. After 2 weeks, the jury came back. Guilty on all counts. Daniel would spend the next 20 years in federal prison. Marcus Chin got 15 years. Victoria, thanks to her cooperation, got 5 years probation and a massive fine. It was over. Finally over. The asset division. With Daniel convicted, the prenup was voided. Everything he had was now subject to division. Lisa worked her magic, and by the time we were done, I had recovered not just my original investments, but a significant portion of Daniel's assets. The offshore accounts were seized by the government and distributed to the fraud victims. But the apartment, the cars, the legitimate investments Daniel had made before he started his scheme, all of that was split between us. And since Daniel was going to prison, I got the majority. "You're a wealthy woman, Maya," Professor Mitchell told me as we reviewed the final settlement. "Between your business and the assets from the divorce, you're worth over $8 million. It felt strange. I had started this journey with nothing, my credit cards frozen, sleeping in a hotel lobby. Now I had more money than I knew what to do with. I want to do something good with it, I told him. Something that helps other women who are going through what I went through. What did you have in mind? A foundation. Legal aid for women trapped in bad marriages. Financial support for women whose husbands have stolen from them. A way to give back." He smiled. "That sounds perfect. Let's make it happen."